Oz is a cheerful 15-year-old noble boy whose own father hates him so much he refuses to even touch him. On the night of his coming-of-age ceremony, robed strangers drag him to an altar and send him to a dark, hellish dimension called the Abyss. Not for anything he did, but simply for existing. Inside, he makes a contract with a girl who can tear entire armies apart just to survive. But when he finally escapes, 10 years have already passed and everyone he loved has forgotten about him. Just when he thinks things cannot get any worse, he discovers that the body he has lived in his entire life was never even his own to begin with. However, before any of this, a young man wearing a white suit is held tightly by several men in dark red coats. Their faces stay hidden, and one of them says that the young man must be punished simply for being alive. At the same time, a small boy speaks about one of the main ideas of the whole story while the city of Sabri is shown breaking apart and falling into ruins. Inside a large mansion, a maid named Mrs. Kate walks around while calling Oz's name. She wants to find him so she can get him ready for the special coming-of-age ceremony happening that night. Meanwhile, young Oz hides inside a closet with his little sister, Ada. Mrs. Kate asks Gil, another boy in the house, if he has seen Oz anywhere. Gil lies and says he has not. After she leaves, Gil tells Oz that it is safe to come out. Oz and Ada jump out of the closet laughing, and Oz suggests they should keep playing. As they head outside, Gil comments that the mansion looks very beautiful now that everything has been repaired. But Oz says he does not really like the new look. Suddenly, Oscar appears and catches them. Oscar explains that he will stand in tonight for Oz's father at the ceremony. Oz replies that he prefers Oscar anyway. Mrs. Kate appears again to take Oz away, but the three of them quickly run off. Oscar playfully warns Oz that if he behaves badly, he will send a chain after him. Oz laughs and says that old threat no longer scares him. Later, Gil explains to Ada that the Abyss is a terrible place where bad people are thrown in and can never come back. He says strange beings called chains drag people there. Oz tells them both that it is only a scary story and not real. Oz then hands Gil a special robe and says he wants Gil to wear it at the ceremony. Gil refuses because he is only a servant and thinks he will embarrass the family. Oz insists, reminding him that they are friends, not master and servant. Suddenly, a soft and mysterious melody starts playing. It is the tune known as Lacey's song. Curious, the boys follow the sound. The ground suddenly collapses, and Oz and Gil fall into a secret underground graveyard. While looking around, Oz notices a pocket watch sitting on a grave. When he picks it up, a strange force pulls him into another place. He finds himself inside a room filled with toys. Many toy-like figures laugh and say that she will be happy because Oz has finally returned. A young girl appears and smiles at him, saying she is glad he came back. Oz becomes frightened because he is sure he has never been here before, but the girl insists that they already know each other very well. Without warning, flames rise all around Oz. The girl suddenly grabs him by the neck and says that she is going to kill him. Oz struggles to breathe. The scene then breaks apart when Gil shakes Oz awake. Oz finds himself standing in the underground graveyard again. He quickly closes the pocket watch, and they return to the mansion in a hurry. When Oz prepares for the ceremony, he remembers what he saw. He looks in the mirror and notices the marks of fingers around his neck. Somewhere else in the mansion, a masked person takes the robe meant for Gil. The masked figure uses some kind of power to make Gil move like a puppet. The people with the masked figure whisper that the chosen one is about to reach the promised place. Far away, a lonely girl sits alone in total darkness. She suddenly hears the same strange melody. She lifts her head and wonders if the song is calling her. Oz feels that the night is only beginning, but he still walks around and talks to the guests at the ceremony. While moving through the crowd, he meets a girl named Sharon Rainsworth. She is calm, beautiful, and gentle, and Oz immediately feels drawn to her. He asks if she will take part in the ceremony, but she smiles and says she cannot because she is only 13. Oz, wanting to act polite and charming, offers her a rose and raises his glass in honor of her beauty. Sharon laughs softly and seems both amused and touched. Before she leaves, she gives him a small warning. She tells him to never forget the people who stand near him and will always care for him, even when things become difficult. A strange young man with one red eye appears beside her. A small doll sits on his shoulder, giving him an unusual look. This man is Brake, and he leads Sharon away. As they walk, Brake teases her about Oz, but Sharon simply answers that Oz will probably be working with Break very closely in the future. Break laughs and says that the gentle rain outside may soon turn into a violent storm. Inside, Oscar begins the coming-of-age ceremony. Oz suddenly remembers that he forgot to ask Oscar about the mysterious pocket watch he found earlier. Ada comes up to him and wishes him luck. Oz tells her to hurry back inside before someone scolds her for being out during the ceremony. When Oz finally notices Gil standing among the participants, wearing the special robe, he feels very happy. Gil looks nervous but tries his best. Outside the mansion, a masked man stares at the building and whispers that the countdown has begun. Oz climbs the long stairs to speak his vows. At that exact moment, an old clock in the mansion, silent for 100 years, suddenly begins to tick again. Its loud echo fills the hall. The masked men hiding nearby say that Oz is the one mentioned in their prophecy. Oz freezes, confused and frightened by this strange turn of events. Without warning, Gil, who is being controlled by someone unseen, rushes toward Oz and stabs him. Oz cries out in shock. The masked men quickly use Oz's blood to open a dark path leading to the abyss. Oz begs Gil to come back to his senses, but Gil is suddenly thrown aside as a powerful creature bursts into the scene. This creature is Bee Rabbit. She claims that Oz belongs to her and then turns to face the masked group, calling them Shinigami. A fight begins, and Bee Rabbit destroys all of them with ease. After defeating them, she demands to know why they are trying to send Oz into the abyss. Oz stands there trembling, unable to process everything happening around him. Gil finally wakes from the control and asks one of the men why they want to harm Oz. When the man turns, Gil gasps because he recognizes him. Oz, filled with fear and anger, picks up a sword and runs toward the masked man. Gil yells at him to stop, but Oz does not listen. In the chaos, Oz accidentally cuts Gil across the chest. Shocked, Oz drops the sword and stumbles back. Weak and terrified, Oz is grabbed by one of the men. Another declares that Oz must be punished for the crime of simply existing. Dark wings rise from the ground and wrap around Oz. He screams as they drag him into the abyss. Somewhere far away, Break drinks tea calmly inside a ruined manor. Sharon stands beside him and says that saving Oz Vesalius is the duty of the Rainsworth family. A young man dressed in black sits quietly nearby, listening in silence. Oz falls straight down into the abyss, unable to stop himself. When he finally lands, he looks around and sees a strange world that feels broken, almost like a toy box that someone smashed apart. The ground, the sky, and even the air seem to repeat the same shapes and colors again and again. No matter which direction Oz walks in, everything looks the same, as if the abyss has no real beginning or end. While he is trying to understand where he is, several creepy dolls suddenly move toward him and start to attack. Oz panics and tries to run, but then the Black Rabbit appears. She destroys the dolls and saves him once more. Oz feels scared of her at first because she is powerful and violent. But the girl tells him to call her Alice. When Oz hears her name, he feels a strange warm feeling, almost like remembering something from long ago, even though he cannot explain why. After the danger passes, Oz relaxes a little. He sits down and opens a drawer nearby. Inside, he finds some cookies and begins to eat them calmly. Alice looks at him with surprise and asks why he is not afraid of her anymore. Oz answers softly that he has gone through so many shocking things today that he no longer reacts the same way. He says he has learned that staying calm during strange events helps protect the people around him. Alice then tells him that she saved him for her own reasons. She explains that the only way for Oz to escape the abyss is to make a contract with her. If he forms this bond with her, she will be able to use her true power. She also says that they should work together because they share the same goal, although she does not fully explain what that goal is. Suddenly, without warning, Sharon appears beside Oz. She grabs him and pulls him away from Alice. She warns him not to trust Alice, saying the girl is dangerous and not someone Oz should rely on. Oz begins to feel uneasy, sensing that something strange is happening. Then the real threat reveals itself. A chain called Mad Baby appears, showing his true form. Alice rushes in and saves Oz from being captured. Oz cannot understand why she keeps helping him. Alice answers that she is following what her heart tells her to do. She is then caught by Mad Baby. Her body begins to fade as the abyss tries to swallow her. Before she disappears, she shouts at Oz to run away and save himself. But Oz cannot leave her. In a sudden burst of emotion, he fights Mad Baby, even though he is terrified. He asks himself why he is risking everything like this. The truth hits him hard. He does not want to lose her. Desperate, he calls out to Alice and begs her to form a contract with him. Alice's eyes shine with excitement. She forms the contract at once. She enters his body, becoming one with him, thrilled that she can finally break free from the abyss. Meanwhile, Brake, Sharon, and Raven prepare to enter the abyss themselves. Before they move, Brake suddenly pulls Sharon aside. Oz appears back in the real world. Sharon looks at him and says he is the key of the tragedy. She adds that nothing can change now, even if Oz becomes a fallen angel who brings destruction. Oz slowly opens his eyes and sees 3 people standing near him. They are Raven, Sharon, and Brake. When Oz looks at Raven, he immediately calls him Gil, because Raven has the same black hair and golden eyes as Gilbert. Raven looks serious, but he does not deny the name. Brake and Sharon greet Oz kindly and say they are happy he woke up. But Oz remembers everything that happened inside the abyss, and he steps back, saying he will not fall for any tricks again. Brake calmly assures him that he is safe now and no one is trying to fool him. Oz's first worry is his family. He quickly asks what happened to them. Brake tells him that everyone in the Vesalius household is safe and unharmed. Brake then introduces himself properly, saying that he is a loyal servant of the Rainsworth family and that Sharon is his young lady. Brake begins to explain everything Oz needs to know. He tells him about Pandora, a group whose job is to study the abyss, learn its secrets, and deal with anything related to it. He also talks about the Baskerville people, who are Pandora's enemies and who follow their own dark purpose. Brake explains that chains, beings from the abyss, sometimes escape into the human world through hidden tunnels. To stay in this world, a chain makes an illegal contract with a human. The contract gives the human power, but it also leads them toward destruction. Brake says they must take Oz to Pandora headquarters so they can understand why the abyss reacted to him. To keep things under control, Brake ties Oz's hands lightly, saying it is only a safety measure because strange things can happen around people linked to chains. At that moment, Alice suddenly takes control of Oz's body. She grabs Sharon and holds her like a hostage, planning to escape. Brake reacts fast and forces Alice's spirit out of Oz. Alice stands beside them, angry but free. She shouts that she came to this world because her memories were scattered here, and she wants to find them. Brake laughs and says it is silly for a chain to have memories at all. Brake then says if Alice is dangerous, he must kill her. He also looks confused that she is not in her giant bee-rabbit form. Oz steps forward and stops him. He says Alice is not an enemy because she helped him escape the abyss when no one else could. He says Brake is the enemy instead, because he barely knows him and yet Brake keeps threatening his friend. Brake suddenly changes his attitude and blames the whole attack on Emily, the puppet he carries around. At that moment, Oz's pocket watch begins glowing and shaking. Raven senses something and says that the door to the abyss has opened again and a chain has slipped through. Using his own powers, Raven tries to control the bee-rabbit's ability inside Oz's body so things do not get out of control. Brake then decides that they should test Alice's true power. Alice agrees without hesitation. She transforms into her full bee-rabbit form, powerful and overwhelming, and she destroys the escaped chain. After the door shuts, Alice understands why she felt the watch calling her. The music inside the watch is connected to one of her lost memories. When the watch reacts, the group sees Oz's vision from the beginning, including a scene from the past. A gentle young man named Jack appears before Oz. Jack tells him that if he wants answers, he must help Alice find all her memory pieces. Alice begins to cry softly when she gets one of her memories back. But after a moment she wipes her face and returns to her bossy personality. Brake asks both Oz and Alice to become his helpers since they all share the same goal. They agree. As morning light finally rises, Oz and Alice run outside together to watch the sunrise, feeling hopeful for the journey ahead. Brake gathers Oz, Alice, and Raven and tells them they now have their first official mission. They must travel to a nearby town called Nozambria. A rumor says that an illegal contractor is hiding there. Brake explains that an illegal contractor is a human who makes a contract with a chain without Pandora's approval. He also says this town is a good place to begin their search because one of Alice's missing memories might appear there. When they arrive in the busy marketplace of Nozambria, Alice disappears almost instantly. She gets distracted by food, noise, and excitement and wanders off. Raven goes to search for her, leaving Oz by himself. While waiting, Oz sees a young girl selling flowers on the street. She looks gentle and lonely. Oz speaks to her for a moment, and then she walks away. Later that evening, the three of them eat dinner together. As they sit around the table, Oz watches Raven closely. He notices that Raven's behavior, voice, and even small expressions remind him a lot of Gil. The black hair and golden eyes make the resemblance even stronger. Raven continues explaining important things to Oz. He says that people become illegal contractors because they want power. These people wish to change their lives, their past, their present, or their future. A chain promises them this power, but in return, a seal appears somewhere on their body. When the seal's clock hand completes one full turn, the person meets their end and is pulled into the abyss forever. Alice eats until she becomes sleepy and soon dozes off at the table. Raven and Oz decide to go finish their mission. As they walk through the quiet streets, Raven says he is surprised how calm Oz stays after everything he has suffered. Oz explains that he believes he can adapt to anything. He also admits that in the past he tried to avoid pain by ignoring the truth, and that was his mistake. Meanwhile, Sharon and Brake sit together far away, talking about the mission. Sharon says Brake has been too harsh and cruel toward Oz. Brake replies that it is better for Oz to learn the truth quickly instead of being protected by lies. Back in Nozambria, Alice suddenly wakes up. A chain appears and attacks her. Its contractor is revealed to be the same flower girl Oz saw earlier. Raven arrives and shoots at the chain. At that moment, the clock seal on the girl's chest completes a full rotation. Her eyes clear and she wakes from her dreamlike state, confused and frightened. The abyss opens under her feet. Her chain grabs her tightly as the pull grows stronger. She screams for help as she and the chain are dragged down. Oz runs forward to save her, but Raven holds him back with force. Raven fears that Oz will get taken into the abyss again if he gets too close. Oz watches helplessly as the girl disappears. He drops to his knees, shaking and heartbroken. After the fight, Brake explains Oz's three choices. First, he can let the darkness swallow him. Second, he can try to find a way to save himself before his time runs out. And third, if he discovers the truth behind everything, Brake might help him. On their way home, Alice says she never knew anything about illegal contractors. Raven is shocked and asks if she has never eaten a human before. Alice angrily says this is her first contract, and her goal now is to help Oz. Raven explains that the only way to stop Oz from being dragged into the abyss when his seal's clock turns completely is to kill Alice. This starts a loud argument between them. Oz sits quietly and wonders what the little flower girl wanted to change in her life before she was taken. The episode ends with a death god laughing inside the Vesalius mansion, hinting that something dark waits for them. Brake looks closely at the mark on Oz's left shoulder. It is not moving at all, so Brake says Oz should be safe for now. Oz then says they should continue searching for Alice's lost memories. Since the pocket watch already showed them one memory, Oz thinks the best place to look next is the mansion where he had his coming-of-age ceremony. When he thinks about returning there, he remembers something from his childhood. He always wondered why his father disliked him so much. Gil tells him he should ask his father directly, but Oz is scared. He says he is afraid to hear the answer. When they reach the mansion, Oz cannot believe what he sees. The place looks empty, dark, and almost ruined. It is nothing like the beautiful and rich home he remembers from the past. Because the building looks dangerous, Raven says he will go in first by himself. He tells Oz and Alice to wait outside. While they wait, Oz talks to Alice about how important Gil is in his life. He remembers a day long ago when Oscar brought a young Gil to the mansion and said Gil would now work as Oz's servant. Gil, just like Alice, did not remember anything about his past except his name. When Gil first arrived, he was nervous and tripped over his own feet. He fell and knocked a vase off a table. Oz quickly ran toward him to protect him, and the vase broke on Oz instead of Gil. Gil felt terrible and said it was his duty to protect his master, not the other way around. But Oz told him that because he is the master, it is his job to keep his servant safe. Suddenly, Alice and Oz feel a dark and dangerous presence coming from the mansion. Without waiting any longer, they both run inside to help Raven. Inside the mansion, Zwei has already taken control of the Pandora members. She attacks Gil with her sharp strings. But Raven shoots each string down again and again. Zwei mockingly says that he has grown into a cold and cruel adult. Raven replies that he does not care about her puppet games. She then teases him, asking if he is still angry about the time she used his body to hurt Oz 10 years ago. Raven shouts that he will never forgive her and keeps firing at her. Oz hears everything and enters the room. Zwei tells him that she and her chain, Duldum, want to welcome him back. She also explains that even if a person escapes from the abyss, they can never return to the same exact time they left. Oz then slowly understands something shocking. Raven is actually Gil. Before he can say anything, Zwei forces Gil's body to attack Oz again. She says that Oz is the key to getting the will of the abyss. During the fight, Oz notices the scar on Gil's chest. It is the same wound he gave Gil 10 years ago. When Oz sees this, he feels hopeless. He stops fighting and says that maybe it is better if he dies. Gil becomes shocked when Oz smiles sadly and pulls the trigger. Oz pulls the trigger, but before anything can happen, Gil shoots Zwei in the shoulder. His shot breaks Duldum's threads and stops her attack. Zwei steps back and decides to escape. Before leaving, she says she is excited for the next part of her plan. Gil looks shocked because he thinks Oz really wanted to die. Oz calmly says he knew he would not die because he trusted that Gil would never shoot him for real. Gil then tells Oz that he is no longer the same person he used to be. He says his name is now Gilbert Knight Ray, not Gilbert Baskerville, and walks away. Oz follows him because he wants to understand everything clearly. As he moves through the hallway, someone far away laughs quietly, but Oz cannot see who it is. Oz finally finds Gil sitting next to an old unknown grave. Oz helps him by cleaning and wrapping the wound on Gil's shoulder. While doing this, he remembers the day when they first discovered this grave together. Gil looks sad and says he did not want Oz to see how much he has changed in the last 10 years. Oz answers that 10 years is a long time, so of course people change. But he also tells Gil that the most important things about him are still the same. Oz adds that he does not care if Gil has joined the Night Ray family, or if people think Gil betrayed the Vesalius family. Gil becomes shocked, touched, and relieved all at once. Because of Oz's words, he decides to renew his promise to stay by Oz's side as his servant. At the same time, Alice is speaking with the Will of the Abyss. The Will of the Abyss says that Alice is nothing more than the black rabbit covered in blood. When Oz returns, he tells Alice that he has cleared things up with Gil. Alice immediately kicks him down the stairs and shouts that she is surprised he dared to leave his master alone. Oz apologizes and says he is sorry for leaving her behind. As they walk through the garden together, a new memory appears in front of them. In this memory, a small girl holds a white rabbit and runs happily toward a young man wearing a green coat. The man has long blonde hair that is braided, but his face is blurry and unclear. He warns the girl and the rabbit to be careful because the Will of the Abyss is watching them. Suddenly, the memory begins to break apart. The ground shakes, the air twists, and Gil quickly pulls Oz away to protect him. But Alice is captured before she can escape. Oz demands that the Will of the Abyss release Alice. The Will of the Abyss, who now appears in the form of a stuffed rabbit, says that Alice is only a chain. She knows nothing about who she really is and would be better off dead. Oz replies that he also knows nothing about himself, so he understands her. He says he does not know why he wants to save Alice, but his heart tells him to. Together, Gil and Oz fight back and defeat the Will of the Abyss. Oz tells her he does not enjoy puppet games and prefers searching for treasure instead. She disappears, warning that they will regret choosing Alice. All three return to the garden unconscious. Brake is shocked that the Will of the Abyss appeared, but Sharon calmly says that everything is happening exactly as they expected. Far away, inside a quiet white room, a young girl with white hair sits alone. She is the true intention of the Abyss. Oz hears strange and painful words echoing in his mind, but he cannot remember who said them. When he opens his eyes, he finds himself lying in Gil's house in the capital city. His head feels heavy, and he keeps thinking about the questions the Will of the Abyss asked him earlier. The more he thinks, the more confused he feels. Gil enters the room and tells Oz the truth. He explains that Brake used Oz and Alice as bait to attract the Will of the Abyss. Gil does not look proud while saying this. Oz is surprised, So Gil explains further. A flashback appears in Oz's mind. Break tells Gil that because of Gil's help, they finally confirmed many theories about the Abyss. Gil becomes angry because this means Oz and Alice were in danger the entire time. Sharon tries to calm him, saying that she and Break were watching closely, so Oz and Alice were never in real danger. Even after that, Gil still feels hurt and embarrassed, because he thinks they tricked him and made him look weak. Oz tries to cheer him up, but Gil stays tense. Suddenly, Break pops out from under Alice's bed. Alice screams and attacks him, destroying almost the entire room. Break, however, does not care and says he came because he is worried about them. Later, Break sits with Oz and Alice and explains the truth about chains and contractors. He says that he and Sharon do not age because they are legal contractors. But then he quietly adds that he will not live for more than a year, which shocks Oz and Alice. Break explains that the Abyss is the birthplace of all chains, and Oz's existence is very important. He says the Abyss is broken or not working right, and they need Oz to help fix it. Oz refuses to change his focus. He says his first goal is to find Alice's lost memories, no matter what anyone says. Break watches him closely and then tells Oz something strange. He says he can see Oz with his eyes, but he cannot feel Oz's presence at all. Alice laughs and says Oz is sitting right in front of them. Break simply walks into a closet and vanishes. Gil and Alice try to find him, but they cannot. While they search, Oz quietly steps out. Suddenly, Oz falls to the floor. His seal begins its first turn. Far away, standing on a rooftop, Break looks at the sky and says the countdown has officially begun. A young girl wearing a blue dress walks into Gil's house and leaves a letter for Vincent. Gil reads the letter in private. He hides it from Oz and Alice but suddenly tells them they should all go out and buy something for dinner. His voice sounds worried. In the market, Alice runs away again, and Gil goes after her. Alice asks Gil about parents. She says parents give life and are the reason a child exists. Gil cannot answer because he does not know how to explain such things. Alice decides she will ask Oz instead, but Gil stops her and warns her not to. He tells her that Oz is very sensitive about parents and that this topic hurts him deeply. Meanwhile, Oz sees a group of boys bullying a younger child. Without thinking, he steps in and protects the child. The little boy talks about his family and asks Oz about his father. Oz tries to answer, but then realizes he cannot even remember his father's face anymore. This makes his heart feel heavy and empty. As the sun goes down, the young girl in blue stands on a rooftop, watching the town quietly as if waiting for something to happen. Philip tells Oz that he stays happy even though his family has suffered many problems. He says that as long as his father stays beside him, he feels safe and blessed. These simple words touch Oz deeply. He remembers his own childhood and how hard he tried to impress his father. He recalls how he worked day and night to earn even the smallest bit of love from him, but no matter what he did, he never received it. At the same time, Gil explains things to Alice. He tells her that Oz was always strict with himself and always blamed himself for everything. Gil says that one day, the thing he feared most became real. Years ago, when Gil was still a child, he gathered his courage and asked Oz's father why he never spoke to his son. Oz's father coldly replied that Oz was filthy, unworthy, and never should have been born. Gil says that hearing those words made him feel sick, because he knew they would destroy Oz if he ever heard them. But Oz later learned the truth, and Gil has blamed himself ever since. He remembers those 3 days Oz spent locked in the dungeon as punishment. When Oz was finally brought out, Gil cried and begged for forgiveness for interfering in his life. But Oz simply said that it did not matter anymore. He said it was better to accept the truth that his father simply hated him, and nothing would change that. Before Gil can say anything more, Alice suddenly raises her head and says she smells a chain nearby. Her eyes narrow as she scans the area. At the same moment, the girl in the blue dress appears in front of Oz. She introduces herself calmly as Echo, a loyal servant of the Night Ray family. Meanwhile, Break returns to the Rainsworth mansion, where Sharon and the Pandora member Reem are discussing the latest events. Break explains that Grimm and his illegal contractor escaped, killing 6 Pandora guards along the way. Emily and Break tease Reem a little, but Break quickly becomes serious again. He tells Sharon that things will now become more interesting because the chains have returned to the capital city, where Oz, Alice, and Gil also are. Back on the streets, Echo tells Oz not to interfere with her mission. She says she will do anything she must to complete her task of capturing the illegal contractor. She pushes Oz aside, and Gil's hat falls to the ground. Echo picks it up and recognizes it. She asks Oz how he is connected to Gilbert. Oz proudly answers that he saved Gil. Echo replies that, in that case, hurting Oz would anger Vincent. Because of that, she allows Oz to follow her, but warns him that if he dies in the fight, she will not take responsibility. Oz thinks Philip is the illegal contractor, so he hurries after her. At the same time, Gil insists they must find Oz first, but Alice says it is too late because the chain has already sensed their presence. Oz runs after Echo and reaches her just as she grabs Philip. He demands to know what she plans to do to the boy. However, Echo explains that Oz is misunderstanding everything. She says Philip is not the contractor. The real illegal contractor is Philip's father. In another part of the battlefield, Grim and Alice face each other. Grim tells her that the will of the abyss will be pleased if he eats her. Alice angrily replies that she would rather dance like an idiot in front of Break 100 times than make the will of the abyss happy. She orders Gil to release her power so she can fight at full strength. Gil wants to help her, but since Oz is not present, he cannot unlock her power. Just then, Echo attacks Grim, but he easily throws her aside. Nearby, Oz stands on a bridge and finally sees the truth with his own eyes. Philip's father is the real illegal contractor. Before he can react, the bridge breaks beneath him. Gil rushes forward and saves Oz just in time. Gil then removes the limiter, allowing Alice to transform into her huge bee-rabbit form. She charges at Grim with full power. Echo prepares to jump into the fight again, but a young man with shoulder-length blonde hair appears and tells her to wait and observe. While the battle grows more violent, Oz suddenly realizes that harming a chain also harms the human who made the contract. He panics and begs Alice to stop, but she refuses. Feeling helpless and desperate, Oz hears a voice whisper inside him. The voice tells him he can control Alice. With no other choice left, Oz gathers his courage and releases his own hidden power. Alice slowly returns to her normal form after Oz releases his power. The force of the shockwave knocks Gil to the ground and leaves him unconscious. Alice looks around in confusion, not understanding what just happened. Inside Oz's mind, the mysterious voice laughs softly and tells him that it already knew he could do it. Oz then begins walking toward Philip's father with a serious and calm expression. As he walks, he remembers the promise he made to Philip. He promised that he would bring his father back safely no matter what. Oz felt truly happy when he saw how much Philip loved his father, and he wants to protect that love. Philip's father starts firing his gun wildly, but Oz keeps walking toward him without fear. Oz raises his voice and asks why he signed the contract when he already had Philip by his side. The father replies that he did everything for Philip. He says he wanted to change the past, erase all sadness, and give his son happiness. Oz stops and stares at him in disbelief. He cannot understand how the man can say he killed people for his son's sake. Philip's father points his gun right at Oz's head, but Oz grabs him and yells that he should have just stayed with Philip. He says that Philip only needed his father beside him. If he had not left him alone, that would have been enough to make the boy happy. Oz's voice breaks with emotion as he holds the man tightly. At that moment, Gil wakes up and sees Oz in danger. Gil quickly aims his gun, but Oz shouts at him not to shoot. Gil stops, unsure of what to do. Suddenly, a gunshot echoes through the area. Philip's father collapses to the ground, dead. The abyss opens beneath him, and both he and his chain are pulled into the darkness. Oz spins around and yells at Gil, demanding to know why he disobeyed him. But Gil tells him that he did not fire the shot. Then Vincent steps forward and calmly says that he was the one who shot Philip's father. He claims that there was no other choice left. Gil, still shaken, asks Vincent for the use of his carriage. Vincent agrees, saying that he will allow it since it is Gil's wish. Later, at the Rainsworth mansion, Vincent apologizes politely to Sharon for causing trouble. Sharon tells him that it is not a problem, but Vincent insists that he should leave because he feels unwelcome. Break steps forward and says he will escort Vincent and Echo out. Meanwhile, Oz sits quietly near a fire, lost in deep thought. He wonders what makes a good father. He remembers how he used to question his own worth when his father rejected him. He remembers how painful it felt to believe that he should not exist. Oz thinks about Philip and realizes he does not want the boy to suffer the same pain he once felt. Alice joins him and says she is surprised by how angry he became. She says it looked like he turned into a completely different person. Oz replies softly that he broke his promise to Philip, and maybe that is why he reacted so strongly. Alice looks at him and says that she understands loneliness too. She says she knows how empty it feels when no one stands beside you. Outside, Brake walks with Vincent and Echo. Brake suddenly comments that someone must have helped Grim escape earlier. He adds that the same person then killed Grim while pretending to do it to protect Oz. Vincent responds that if this is true, then things will become very frightening, because it means a traitor is hiding among them. Brake smiles coldly and says he will make sure to corner the traitor. Vincent replies with a quiet smile that he will look forward to seeing that happen. While Alice and Oz sit quietly, Alice speaks first. She says that Vincent gives her a strange and uneasy feeling. She cannot explain why, but she knows it is not something good. Oz listens silently. At that moment, Gilbert speaks up and reveals that Vincent is his older brother. He begins to explain everything that has happened to him over the years. He tells them that he was adopted by the Night Ray family so that he could obtain their chain, Raven. He also says that very few people remember the events that happened during Oz's coming-of-age ceremony 10 years ago, which were full of pain and confusion. A flashback fills Oz's mind. Gil remembers crying as a child, unable to understand why Oz was thrown into the abyss. He could not understand how such a terrible thing could happen to someone so innocent. The memory is sharp and painful, making him feel helpless. During this time, Brake appears and introduces himself to young Gil. Meanwhile, Sharon is talking to Oscar. She tells him that 5 years ago, Vincent was found on the Night Ray grounds, badly wounded and alone. He had no family to care for him. The Night Rays adopted him, and since then, he has been searching for his long-lost brother, Gilbert. Oscar notices that Vincent's discovery mirrors how Gil was found years earlier on the Vesalius property. Brake speaks to Gil, asking him to join the Night Ray family officially. Gil immediately refuses. He says it is impossible because the Vesalius family and the Night Rays are enemies, sworn to oppose each other. Brake adds that wallowing in self-pity will only block the truth from his eyes. He tells Gil that he must do whatever it takes to reach his goals, to protect what matters most. Brake extends his hand to Gil, offering a way forward, but Gil suddenly pushes him away. Brake shows Gil his hollow left eye socket and explains that it was taken long ago. Gil cries out in shock. Brake calmly says that he sees Oz's current danger as the beginning of something much bigger. He asks Gil to become his left eye, meaning that Gil would share all the Night Ray's secrets and movements with him. Brake tells him he does not need to trust him fully. They only need to work together and use each other to achieve their goals. Gil is brought to the Night Ray mansion. There, he meets Vincent in his room. Vincent is sitting on the bed, cutting up stuffed animals. He rushes forward to welcome his younger brother, but Gil pushes him back. Vincent asks Gil if he remembers anything about his past, but the flood of memories becomes too much. Gil collapses, exhausted by the weight of everything he has seen and experienced. Vincent holds him gently and says that it might be better if he does not remember everything right now. Gil hugs Vincent, and even though he remembers Brake's advice to use anyone he can, he feels comfort in his brother's presence. Gil starts a new life under Vincent's care. One day, he asks Vincent about Raven. Vincent is surprised that Gil knows about the chain, but he agrees to take Gil to the door to the abyss beneath the Night Ray mansion. Vincent explains that each of the 4 great houses, the Night Ray, Vesalius, Rainsworth, and Barma, possess doors to the abyss, and each door has chains connected to it. By forming legal contracts, they can create paths to the abyss. Suddenly, Raven appears in front of Gil. Gil is frightened, but Vincent reassures him that he will be able to control Raven's power. Gil realizes then that he has the chance to save Oz one day. 10 years have passed. One day, Gil meets Brake at a party. They speak casually, but their conversation soon turns serious. They talk about the young man Gil has become. Since the tragedy of Sabri, the Night Rays have been blamed and pushed aside, while the Vesalius family was praised as heroes for stopping Glenn Baskerville. The Night Rays are often given secret, backdoor jobs, many of which Gil performs himself. He says he does not care how much blood he spills as long as he can bring back his light. Oz. Break tells him that such loyalty is unusual and warns him not to become like him. He advises Gil to keep both eyes open. Finally, Gil finishes his story. He sees that Alice and Oz have fallen asleep, exhausted. Uncle Oscar comes to check on them, but he decides to wait until morning. He gives Break some papers, and Break replies that he believes everything is starting to come together. The pieces of the past, the present dangers, and the future plans are all beginning to align, and Gil feels the weight of the responsibility he carries for both Oz and the world around him. In the morning, Break talks to Uncle Oscar. He tells him that Oz, Alice, and Gil have gone to the market because Oz lost Gil's favorite hat. Break says that he will join them later. Oscar asks what Break is planning, and Break smiles slightly. He says that his target is about to take the bait, and everything is going according to plan. At the market, the trio finds themselves in an arm wrestling contest to get Gil's hat back. Oz uses clever tricks and psychological tactics to win his match. Gil goes next and faces Uncle Oscar. Despite his strength, he loses to him. Then it is Alice's turn. Gil allows her to use her full power so she can win the contest. With her strength, she helps them get the hat back. After the contest, Gil and Oz meet Uncle Oscar again. Gil apologizes for ever betraying the Vesalius family, while Oz apologizes for causing so many problems. Oscar waves his hand and smiles. He tells them not to worry and says that they are like his own precious sons. Seeing them together, Alice suddenly runs away, feeling confused by her emotions. As Alice runs, she wonders why she feels this way. She suddenly hears the ringing of a bell, echoing through the streets. Break appears beside her. She asks why he is here. Break tells her to pay attention to her surroundings. He says that he has been following them for a long time, watching every move. Alice looks around nervously, realizing that she is not safe. When Oz searches for her, he finds Emily standing nearby with a bag of apples on the ground, seemingly left as a clue. Alice remembers how she has always been searching for him, a young man in a green coat. She does not want to be alone anymore. Break agrees with her silently. Suddenly, Alice realizes that she was not speaking in a dream. She was talking to Break in the real world. Her panic rises. Break explains that they have been dragged into a place called the cat's house. He warns her to stay alert because the cat did not bring them there to be friendly. Break says that he wants to uncover the truth from this mysterious cat. As they enter another room, Alice is surrounded by a strange memory. This time, fear replaces the warmth she usually feels. The will of the abyss appears before her and asks why she wants her memories back. Alice answers honestly that she needs to know why she exists. The will of the abyss laughs cruelly, asking why she scattered her memories if that is truly the reason. Alice feels her chest tighten with panic and sorrow. Break tries to calm her, but she cannot listen. She screams and runs away, desperate. Just as Break moves to follow her, someone suddenly grabs him and pulls him into a mirror. At the Rainsworth mansion, Sharon explains the situation to Oz and Gil. She tells them that Break and Alice are trapped in the cat's house. Oz comments that Break would never have gone there without preparing a way to escape. He left Emily behind on purpose so that Oz and Gil could follow and join the event safely. Sharon reveals that her chain, Equus, is hidden in Break's shadow. They can use it to reach Break and Alice. Gil protests, saying that it is too dangerous, but Oz insists that he must go. He feels responsible and cannot wait any longer. Meanwhile, in the cat's house, a scared Alice runs through the twisting hallways. A black cat suddenly appears in front of her. She freezes and feels a strange familiarity. She remembers that this black cat was once her dear friend. Her heart races, torn between fear and hope, as she struggles to understand what is happening. Gil and Oz wake up in a strange, twisting dimension that belongs to Cheshire. Sharon's voice echoes in their minds, warning them that something bad has happened to Alice and Break. She tells them to find Alice first because Break is strong and won't die easily. Before they can move, Cheshire suddenly appears in front of them. He declares that Gil and Oz are enemies of the will of the abyss and that he intends to eliminate them. Gil freezes, terrified, because he has always been afraid of cats. Sharon acts quickly. She uses her chain, Equus, to block Cheshire's attack, creating a small window for Gil and Oz to escape. At the same time, in the real world, Echo suddenly appears behind Sharon. Sharon gasps, startled by Echo's unexpected presence. A fake version of Alice appears in front of them. Gil immediately reacts and shoots it down. Cheshire reappears, laughing cruelly. He explains that the fake Alice is a distorted memory. He warns them that if they are swallowed by this dimension, which is made entirely of memories, they will suffer greatly. He says that it would be better to eat them right here than let them wander in this dangerous place. Cheshire sniffs the air and realizes something important. He senses that Raven's power is being used to control Alice. He suddenly slashes Gil across the chest. Gil falls off the stairs, hanging dangerously from the rails. Cheshire grabs Oz tightly, demanding to know why he is here. Oz struggles and explains that he is here because Alice wants to recover her memories. Cheshire screams in anger and calls Oz a liar. He insists that Alice does not want to recover her memories, she wants to forget. Cheshire claims that Alice scattered her memories herself the day she learned the truth. Meanwhile, back at Pandora headquarters, Oscar and Reem talk quietly about a meeting that has been postponed. They notice Vincent sleeping on the floor in the middle of the hallway. Sometimes his chain, Dormouse, puts him to sleep like this. Vincent wakes and explains that Echo is out performing another mission for him. He adds that he is here to discuss William West, Philip's father, but he will not tell anyone that Oz has returned. Reem is shocked, but he quickly promises to keep the secret. Vincent smiles and says that the night is young. To pass the time, he suggests playing a game of chess. While they play, they talk about the Hooded Reapers, the Baskervilles, and how the capital city Sabri fell into the abyss 100 years ago. They also discuss how each noble house possesses a specific chain. However, he explains, this is still not enough. The fifth door, controlled by the Baskervilles, and the cooperation of the Will of the Abyss are both needed to fix everything. Oscar shakes his head, unable to understand Vincent's thoughts. Vincent replies that he is always thinking about Gil, which is why he remains quiet about Oz's return. Gil asked him to. Meanwhile, Gil walks through a beautiful, overgrown garden, searching for any clue of Alice. Suddenly, he sees a figure that looks like Alice's memory and starts following her. He recalls the conversation he had with Break. Break warned him that Alice is just a leech preying on Oz and suggested it might be better to kill her. Gil also remembers that Alice does not look like other chains. Something about her is different, strange. Break had told him that he is not allowed to kill her yet, because she might be completely unique. As Gil continues, a young man appears in front of him. The man has blonde hair and emerald green eyes, making Gil momentarily think it is Oz. The man smiles and calls out to Gil. He introduces himself as Jack Vesalius, revealing his true identity. Gil is shocked but knows that meeting him will change everything. In a flashback, through the eyes of a cat, a young girl sits alone in a room filled with toys and dolls. The cat remembers the day two boys, Jack and Glenn, arrived there. The scene shifts back to the present. Cheshire Cat appears and starts teasing Oz, who responds with quick, clever remarks. Oz says that Cheshire will get into trouble for scarring the face of a future noble. Cheshire replies mysteriously, saying that he is both present and not present at the same time. Oz counters, telling him that he sees Oz with the same kind of eyes that Break uses. Suddenly, Jack appears, and Oz is pulled through a mirror. Jack warns Cheshire that Alice will be upset if anything happens to Oz. Oz is relieved to reunite with Gil. After they meet, Oz insists that Jack explain who he really is. But before revealing himself, Jack asks Oz to help rescue Alice, who is trapped inside a memory. Meanwhile, Cheshire enters a memory created by Break. Jack explains that Break can handle himself even against Cheshire. Oz wonders why Cheshire is going so far. Jack suggests it may be because Cheshire wants to become a loyal knight for someone important. He asks Oz if he is the same and reassures him that he can save Alice. Then Jack sends Oz on his way alone, which upsets Gil. Gil asks why Jack does this. Jack explains that his power is limited because he is only a fragment inside Alice's memory. Inside the memory, Cheshire approaches Break, intending to finish him off. Break turns the tables, opening his missing eye to summon his chain, Mad Hatter. He explains that he allowed himself to be caught on purpose so he could defeat Cheshire. Oz continues his search for Alice. Suddenly, flames erupt around him, and he sees dead bodies scattered across the ground. Jack explains that he has sent Oz into the memory of the tragedy of Sabri. Oz sees a young boy, whom he believes is Vincent, running past him. Confused, Oz follows the boy and realizes that Gil must have also lived 100 years ago. He follows them both to a tall tower, where he finds Alice lying motionless. Jack explains that Alice was killed as a human 100 years ago in this very place. Gil reacts angrily. He points his gun at Jack and demands that he send Oz away immediately. Jack laughs softly and places his head in front of the gun. He asks Gil if he truly does not remember anything. Gil, choking back emotion, says that he does not want to remember. Jack continues, saying that both Gil and Alice carry scars that will never heal. He explains that the bond between Alice and Oz is unbreakable, a connection that continues through time and memory. Oz listens quietly, understanding that the past and present are deeply connected. He realizes that Alice's fate and his own are tied together in ways he is only beginning to understand. The memory shows him pain, loss, and courage, but also the determination that he must have to save her. Despite the danger, Oz feels he cannot turn back now. After seeing Alice dead, Oz feels completely shocked and heartbroken. His emotions are so strong that the seal on his hand activates again, and B-Rabbit's power starts to react violently. The power spreads quickly, and he begins to destroy everything around him in Cheshure's dimension. The walls crack, the floors break, and the space begins collapsing. Jack realizes the danger and sends Gil to help Oz. He warns that if Gil cannot calm him down, the entire dimension will be destroyed, and everyone trapped inside may vanish forever. Meanwhile, Break and Cheshure continue their intense fight. Cheshure insists that he must stop Oz before Oz destroys everything. He says he does everything for Alice's sake and that she is the reason for all his actions. Break observes what is happening and notices the power Oz is using. He compares it to his own abilities and expresses his frustration with those who act recklessly while claiming they do everything for someone else. Gil finally reaches Oz and tries to reason with him, but Oz is too deep in his trance to listen. Oz remembers Alice's sad voice and how much she suffered. Believing that destroying everything will save her, he decides to use B-Rabbit's power to its fullest. He even says that he would kill Alice if it helps her, though he only says this because he is in a trance and overwhelmed with emotion. Gil realizes that he must snap Oz out of it, so he slaps him hard, breaking him from his trance. Meanwhile, back in the real world, Vincent is calmly playing chess with Echo. He comments that everything is going exactly as planned, showing that he has been watching all the events unfold. In the dimension, Break gains the upper hand against Cheshure using his chain, Mad Hatter. He forces Cheshure to reveal the truth of the tragedy of Sabri and Alice's lost memories, which are contained within Cheshure's bell. Cheshure becomes desperate and loses control, abandoning his human form and turning into a monstrous black figure. This makes the dimension even more unstable, causing more destruction. Oz watches, horrified, realizing the extent of the chaos he has caused. He remembers why he came here in the first place, to save Alice. Together with Gil, he climbs the collapsing staircase and finds Alice chained, thinking about herself and her past. Oz reassures her, saying that it doesn't matter whether she is human or a chain. What matters is that she is Alice. Overwhelmed with relief, Alice starts crying, asking why it took him so long. Oz simply feels thankful that she is alive. As the staircase begins to crumble, Gil catches both of them, saving them from falling. Suddenly, Break and Cheshure burst into the room. Break, having transformed into a monstrous form, declares that he will destroy everything to protect Alice. He orders Oz and Alice to escape using his chain, Equus. As Cheshure is defeated, Alice realizes that he was once her beloved pet cat. Equus transports Oz and Alice back to their world. Oz begs Sharon to stop, but she does not. In the chaos, Break and Gil are separated from Oz and Alice, remaining trapped in Cheshure's dimension. Oz and Alice arrive in a room filled with people and quickly notice that they have interrupted a Pandora meeting. Uncle Oscar is present, and Alice, still in her B-Rabbit form, stands ready, alert, and prepared. Oz and Alice, in her B-Rabbit form, find themselves in the middle of a Pandora meeting. Everyone in the room immediately reacts with shock and fear. They assume that Oz and Alice intend to attack the four dukes. Alice doesn't understand why she transformed into B-Rabbit, and she struggles to regain control. Reem enters the room just as Oz and Alice are cornered, and Oscar instructs him to handle the situation. Reem hesitates, feeling unsure about dealing with such a huge, powerful rabbit, but he agrees to follow orders. Suddenly, Break appears and pulls him into another room. Break and Gil have returned safely using Gil's chain, Raven. However, because Raven was used, the seal on Alice was broken, which explains why she remains in her bee-rabbit form. Reem explains everything that happened while they were gone, but Break immediately asks about Sharon. Reem says that Sharon is missing, and without delay, he runs to find Oz and Alice. Break quickly notices the Black Rose and a Black Knight in the room, realizing that Vincent Nightray has taken Sharon. Gil wakes up and feels a strong urgency to find Oz. He knows that if he doesn't seal B-Rabbit soon, Oz's body could be destroyed further. Meanwhile, Oz and Alice are cornered again when Jack Vesalius intervenes. Jack takes control of Oz's body and immediately restores Alice to her normal form. Everyone in the room, especially the stewards of the nobles, is shocked to see a small, young girl instead of the fearsome B-Rabbit. Jack addresses Pandora and explains the true situation. He reveals that Glenn Baskerville is not dead and that he was the one responsible for defeating Glenn 100 years ago. Jack assures them that Oz is not their enemy. Instead, he is the key to preventing the repeat of the tragedy of Sabri. He tells them that Glenn sacrificed thousands of lives in the past to try to gain the will of the Abyss, and warns that Glenn and his followers would not hesitate to do it again once they are reunited. Meanwhile, at Pandora headquarters, Break meets Vincent in the Rose Garden. Break demands that Vincent return Sharon immediately. Vincent agrees, but only on the condition that Break gives him the bell that he recovered from Cheshure's dimension. In his inner world, Oz feels frustrated that Jack used his body without asking. Jack apologizes and promises that he will explain everything to Oz one day before leaving. Oz wakes up the next morning to find Break waiting to speak with him. Break begins by apologizing, which surprises Oz, who jokingly suggests he must have a fever because it's unusual for Break to apologize. Break asks Oz for any information he can share about the events that occurred. After hearing the full story from Oz, Break starts to understand the situation. Oz asks Break why he wanted to know the truth, but Break refuses to answer. Break also questions whether Oz is truly the hero, Jack's reincarnation, but Oz insists that he is only himself, just Oz. Break then warns him about Vincent, commenting that he can't believe how easily Vincent deceived both Sharon and himself. The episode ends with Vincent meeting secretly with some of the Baskervilles, hinting at new dangers ahead. In a flashback, Break talks to himself quietly, thinking about a contract that must be sealed. He lies in front of the Rainsworth mansion. Back in the present, Oz learns about Sharon's kidnapping and how Break handled the dangerous situation. Later, back in a flashback, Vincent brings Break to Sharon. Both Sharon and Echo have been poisoned, forcing Break to make a quick decision. Vincent offers the antidote only if Break agrees to destroy Cheshure's bell, the key to the truth about events from 100 years ago. Break remembers how he once asked Shelley Rainsworth for permission to pursue the truth, believing it was the reason he lived. Even so, he chooses to obey Vincent's demand, doing it for Sharon's safety, although she pleads with him to stop. Vincent betrays him. He holds the antidote over the balcony, mocking Break and calling him a fool. The antidote starts to fall, but Echo catches it just in time. Reem and Oz leave Break and Sharon alone, giving them space. Later, Oz learns more about Break from Reem, hearing about the man Break used to be and how much he has changed since then. Meanwhile, at the Rainsworth household, Oscar receives a letter from Ada at Lutwidge, her private academy. The letter hints that Ada has a crush on someone, though she doesn't say who. To discover the truth, Oscar arranges for a small team to sneak into the academy. Elliot and Leo are seen relaxing in their room, discussing how some suspicious people might have snuck into the school. Oz and the group finally find Ada. At first, their meeting is awkward. Both wonder if the other would remember them or accept how much they have changed. Despite the nervous start, they gradually reconnect and feel happiness from seeing each other again. Their reunion turns warm as they recall old times. Oscar then questions Ada about the letter. Ada reveals that she gave Gil his favorite hat, which surprises Oz. Thinking Gil might be her crush, Oz chases after him, determined to find out the truth. During the chase, Oz and Ada become separated and eventually lost in the school. However, they quickly forget their worries as they playfully explore together. remembering the carefree joy of their past. They laugh and enjoy the moment, feeling as if time has gone back to when they were children. Suddenly, Oz hears a familiar melody coming from his pocket watch. Excited and curious, he runs up the stairs, feeling that something important is about to happen, while Ada follows closely behind, eager to see where it will lead. Oz runs quickly through the long halls, following the familiar melody coming from his pocket watch. He arrives at a large room that has 2 pianos but finds it empty. Confused, he asks Ada about it. She suggests that the music must be coming from Elliot and Leo. Oz wonders where they could be, and Ada replies that at this time of day, they are probably in the library. She says she will go and find them so they can all meet up. When Oz enters the library, he feels slightly overwhelmed. The room is enormous, filled with shelves that stretch high to the ceiling. He notices so many books, more than he ever saw in the Vesalius mansion. Walking through the rows, he suddenly sees one of his favorite series, the Holy Night books. He feels excited and starts reading again, lost in the story. A young boy with light brown hair and pale blue eyes comes toward him. Oz happily tells the boy how much he loves the series, especially the character Edgar, the loyal servant. The boy frowns and comments that he actually hates Edgar, calling him selfish and proud. He adds that Edgar dies in volume 16. Oz freezes, shocked to hear that his favorite character dies. The boy shrugs and says it is Oz's own fault for not knowing. Another boy, wearing round glasses, shouts that it is unforgivable to spoil a story for someone. The first boy argues that his servant, Leo, should correct the master's behavior, explaining it is a servant's duty. Leo casually looks at Oz and guesses that he must be one of the intruders they are looking for. Elliot cracks his knuckles and asks why Leo didn't say so earlier. Leo explains that Oz seemed harmless at first. Suddenly, Ada appears, and Elliot immediately speaks harshly to her. He refuses to treat her kindly because she belongs to the Vesalius family, while he is a Night Ray. Meanwhile, Gil and Alice hide on the school grounds. Alice smells food cooking and runs off excitedly. Gil starts to follow her but is stopped when a group of female students surround him, clearly impressed by how handsome and cool he looks. At the same time, Ada tells Oz that he should not hate Elliot too much, as he is actually kind and reliable. She explains that she cannot change his attitude toward the Vesalius family. Oz suddenly remembers that he forgot to ask Elliot about the music composition. As they prepare to search again, a girl with pink hair suddenly appears and grabs Ada. The Baskervilles demand that Oz explain who he is. The pink-haired girl, Lottie, poisons Ada and says they will do anything to complete their mission. She offers Oz the antidote for Ada if he allows her to speak with Jack. Lottie wants to learn the truth about the tragedy of Sabri, explaining that Glenn Baskerville caused many deaths and the Baskervilles were forced to follow his orders. Meanwhile, Elliot notices that Ada's cat is pawing at a wall. Leo inspects the area and discovers a hidden passage. He opens it, and they find a room where the Baskervilles have captured Ada and Oz. Elliot immediately challenges them, declaring that it is his duty as a noble to capture intruders. Oz yells for him to run away, but Elliot refuses, claiming Oz is only pretending to be Edgar. A fight breaks out between Elliot and one of the Baskervilles, Fawn. Leo grabs Ada, and the 4 of them escape through the secret passage. While they move through the dark tunnels, Oz and Elliot continue to bicker. Leo interrupts them, reminding them to focus. Ada receives the antidote and begins to recover. As they search for a way out, Oz yells at Elliot for interfering. Elliot responds that Oz is taking the easy path and hurting people with his actions. He says Oz's self-sacrifice only protects himself and that he cannot really protect anyone this way. Angry, Oz shouts at Elliot to be quiet, frustrated by the constant criticism. Oz shouts at Elliot, telling him that he doesn't understand anything about him. He explains that he doesn't want to be a burden to anyone and that he doesn't deserve to be treated the same as everyone else. That is why he is willing to bear all the weight on his own. He says that if everyone leaves him, it will be fine. For the first time, he opens up honestly about his feelings, something he has never even shared with Gil. Hearing this, Elliot and Leo nod, saying that's enough for now, and they continue moving through the passageways to find the exit. Despite the danger around him, Oz feels a strange lightness in his heart. Speaking his truth has lifted a weight he didn't realize he carried. Meanwhile, the 3 Baskervilles, Lottie, Fawn, and another member, plan their next move. They finally catch up to Oz and his friends. Lottie immediately attacks using her chain. Leon, Oz and Elliot quickly draw their swords, preparing to fight back. Oz calls on Jack for help, and Jack responds, telling him to focus only on protecting his friends. Oz draws upon Alice's bee-rabbit power, and both Alice and Gil feel the surge of energy. Lottie suddenly freezes as a memory floods back into her mind. She remembers the first time she met Jack. He had given her the name Lottie, and she had felt a strange warmth from him. She also recalls Glenn, a man she respected, who had preferred solitude. Lottie cannot understand why Glenn would work with someone like Jack, yet she remembers Jack showing her the pocket watch he had created, which played a beautiful melody. Lottie is amazed and asks what the melody is called. Glenn smiles for the first time and says it is called Lacey. Seeing him smile is something she will never forget. She feels pride and regret, pride at seeing the rare moment of happiness, and regret for not being part of the work that Jack and Glenn created together. Even so, she treasures the memory of his smile as enough for that moment. But her memories take a darker turn. Glenn had suddenly ordered the entire clan to kill everyone in the capital. When they questioned him, he simply repeated his command without explanation. Lottie had struggled to understand why someone she respected could cause so much death and chaos. Back in the present, Jack speaks to Lottie through Oz, commanding them to leave immediately. Lottie accuses him of killing Glenn to gain the wealth and status that the Vesalius family now enjoys. Jack becomes furious and releases his power, asking her if she truly believes he could kill his best friend for fame. He tells her to retreat, explaining that B-Rabbit's power is too strong for them to defeat, and that his only goal is to protect the memory and reputation of his old friend. Lottie replies that they will continue searching for answers, the truth, and their master's return. In Oz's inner world, he watches Jack struggling with his emotions. Jack laments that his bond with Glenn was too weak, that he could not see the man Glenn was becoming until it was too late. More visions appear, showing the tragic path of Glenn's choices. Jack finally confronts Glenn, demanding an explanation for the destruction and suffering he has caused in Sabri. Glenn swings his bloodied sword at Jack, forcing him into a desperate choice. With tears streaming down his face, Jack strikes Glenn down, ending his life despite their friendship. The pain of that decision shakes Oz deeply. The next morning, Oz wakes up along with Elliot and Leo. They move forward with Ada, who is still asleep. Oz reflects on Jack's courage and feels a deep sense of inadequacy. He realizes that he would never have been able to face Glenn like Jack did. He feels lost, confused, and overwhelmed by his own sense of worthlessness. Leo looks at him and blames Elliot for making Oz feel so bad about himself. Oz sighs, admitting that he feels he has not truly moved forward since childhood. Elliot gently tells him that he is wrong. Just by realizing his feelings and thinking about his own weaknesses, he has already begun taking steps forward. Oz listens, beginning to understand that even small progress is still progress. Oz and Gilbert sit quietly in the Rainsworth mansion, feeling heavy and troubled as they remember everything that happened before. Their minds wander back to a flashback. Oz had asked Elliot about the melody he had heard. Elliot proudly said he composed it himself and called it Lacey. Curious, Oz asks his name, but decides not to reveal which family he belongs to. Suddenly, Gilbert calls out to him without thinking. Irritated, Oz hits him lightly for interrupting their conversation. Elliot, seeing this, immediately challenges Gilbert, questioning why a 24-year-old is wearing a school uniform. He wants to know how Gilbert knows Oz. Gil confesses nervously that he is Oz's master. Shocked, Elliot pushes Oz away in panic, insisting that this cannot be real since Oz Vesalius died 10 years ago. He says he cannot trust Oz and walks off, leaving both of them stunned. Back in the present, Brake watches Oz carefully. He does not fully understand why Oz feels so upset. But he knows that Gilbert is struggling because his younger brother rejected him. The mood in the mansion is tense, and everyone feels the weight of past events. Meanwhile, Alice is sulking quietly. She feels ignored because the boys went on their little adventure without her. She also notices that Oz has been paying more attention to Ada than to her, even though he is supposed to be her servant. Sharon notices Alice's feelings and immediately points out that what she is feeling is jealousy. She begins explaining to Alice about the concept of romance, guiding her carefully. Brake is about to leave the room, but Sharon stops him. She instructs Alice to call her big sister. Brake teasingly says Sharon acts more like an aunt pampering a niece. Sharon immediately hits him in response, making him wince. Later, Oscar arrives to celebrate everyone's safe return. He brings a drink, calling it juice, but it actually contains alcohol. Everyone drinks, and soon their speech becomes slurred, and their visions blur. Despite this, they continue drinking until night falls, eventually passing out one by one. Only Oz and Brake remain unaffected. Oz asks Brake why he pretended to drink, and Brake simply replies that he was acting according to the situation. Gilbert approaches Oz with a serious look and begs him to take better care of himself. He warns Oz that if he doesn't, he will only end up heartbroken. Oz promises he will look after himself and also catch up on everything that has happened to everyone so far. As Oz carries Alice to her room, he remembers Leo's parting words. Leo told him not to hate Elliot, explaining that Elliot is both incredibly smart and incredibly foolish. He hoped that they would meet again one day, a wish Oz quietly agrees with. Looking at his pocket watch, Oz realizes he has many questions for Jack that he wants to ask. Later, Elliot collapses onto his bed, feeling dizzy and weak. Leo looks at him worriedly and asks if he had the same nightmare again. Elliot shivers and cries, describing the dream where everyone is dead and he stands alone in a pool of blood. He whispers that he doesn't want to have that dream anymore. Overwhelmed by fear and exhaustion, Oz and the others arrive at the opera house, dressed elegantly, ready to meet Rufus Barma. Their goal is to learn more about the tragedy of Sabri and its connection to the past. Reem appears to guide them to his master, keeping a careful eye on their movements. Brake quietly warns Oz to stay alert with Alice, sensing that she is still keeping something to herself. Oz notices that Alice hasn't said anything about wanting to recover her memories since returning from Cheshure's dimension, and this worries him slightly. Suddenly, a short, round man appears in front of them. He refuses to give any information unless they share something with him first, something he doesn't already know. Oz explains that he wants to understand how capable he is so that he can protect his friends. Hearing this, Duke Barma becomes furious. Without warning, enormous playing cards appear and attack Oz and Alice, attempting to exploit Alice's fears. The illusions try to manipulate her, but she stands firm, saying that she will pursue the truth because that is her destiny. Oz is inspired by her courage and realizes that they are comrades, each searching for their own identity. Together, they vow to face the future side by side. Brake steps forward, using Mad Hatter to break Barma's illusions and confront the real Rufus Barma. Barma's real goal is revealed. He wants to know more about Brake's past. This triggers a memory in Brake. Later in a flashback, a small blonde girl cries beside a coffin. A young man leaves, and she calls after him, begging him not to go because she doesn't want to be alone. Present-day Brake trembles as Barma addresses him by his real name, Kevin Regnard, the man who murdered over 116 people 50 years ago and once made an illegal contract. Brake collapses under the weight of his past. Another flashback comes to him. After completing a dangerous cycle, Brake is dragged into the abyss. He wakes in a room filled with dolls, with Cheshure looming over him. Suddenly, a young girl, the intention of the abyss, also known as Alice, speaks to him. He is shocked to see her, but Albus materializes beside her, saying he wanted to meet the intention of the abyss. She quickly learns about Brake's past and mocks how foolish and desperate he was to come to the abyss. Angered, Brake attacks her, but she does not flinch. Albus intervenes, hitting Brake away from her. In her rage, the intention destroys Albus, claiming he should not have interfered. Brake feels excruciating pain as he realizes that in the core of the abyss, he is being transformed into a chain. The intention rips out one of his red eyes, stating that she wants it for Cheshure. Even as he fears death, he recalls why he came here and renews his resolve. He strikes Alice, but she only smiles wickedly. Meanwhile, the tragedy of Sabri begins to unfold. The city is swallowed by the abyss, and the intention falls to the floor, clutching her chest, confused by the events around her. At that moment, Vincent enters, carrying an unconscious Gilbert into the room, adding more urgency and tension to the scene. Flashback appears again where a young Vincent appears in front of Alice, cruel and mocking. He throws a dead, blinded cat in front of her. Alice screams and cries, overwhelmed with grief and anger. She swears that she will never forgive him for such cruelty. In present, Brake, known by his real name Kevin Regnard, slowly wakes from his fainting spell. He looks around and begins to tell Rufus Barma and the others everything he knows about his past and the events that have led them here. Meanwhile, in the room of the Intention of the Abyss, Vincent suddenly appears, carrying Gilbert in his arms. He collapses, exhausted both physically and mentally. The Intention of the Abyss starts crying after hearing Vincent declare that she should be dead. Her personality changes completely in an instant. She looks at Brake with a blank expression and asks him who he is. Then she smiles and says it's tea time, as if nothing serious has happened. She talks about looking forward to her playdate with Jack, acting carefree and innocent. Suddenly, Vincent begins laughing in a frightening way. He declares that Jack will never come because he is dead, having died fighting Glenn in Sabri. Alice screams, refusing to accept that Jack could die. Vincent angrily tells her that he caused everything, that it is her fault Jack is gone, that the world is destroyed, and that he and Gil are ruined because of her. Alice's cries and screams echo as the entire dimension begins to collapse. Cheshire tries to console her but fails. Vincent laughs even more wildly, claiming that he would feel normal only if everything fell apart. Before he disappears, Brake shouts promises to her, begging her to change the past if she can. He calls her name, and for a moment, she turns to look at him, caught between her anguish and his plea. Back in the present, everyone listens to Brake's story in shock. Duke Barma speaks up, realizing that Alice is the same girl mentioned in Jack's diary. Jack's voice begins narrating from the diary. He recalls meeting a young girl on the Baskerville estate. He notices that she often changes her preferences and behavior, acting as if another person is inside her. When Jack finally asks who the other personality is, Alice explains that they are like twins, connected by the core of the abyss. The diary contains no other details, and Barma suggests taking Alice and Brake into custody. Oz refuses, standing firm that he will protect his friends no matter what. Barma warns them that they will regret their decision, but Oz remains determined. On the way back to the mansion, Brake continues to reveal his past. He was born into a family of knights serving the Sinclair family for generations. One day, while he and the young heir were outside, his entire family was killed. Devastated, Brake falls into Albus' control. Albus promises to grant Brake's wish of bringing his family back if he kills others. Later, when Brake meets the Intention of the Abyss, she agrees to alter the past, but in exchange for something he must give. Brake recalls the tragic events. His master did not die that night, but the massacre occurs 4 years later. Even the youngest daughter, who had survived before, is killed. Brake admits that he is responsible because he wished to change the past. He also explains his hatred toward the will of the Abyss, which he feels is justified only by false promises, because she granted his wish but caused more suffering than he imagined. In Revail, Alice faces another dangerous illegal contractor. Oz and Gilbert catch up to her just in time, but Alice is thrown back and loses her weapon. The contractor wants revenge for being betrayed and aims to change the past to regain his lost power as a gang leader. Alice uses her agility and chains to dodge and counterattack. She notices Fawn lacks any of her lost memories beyond what chains retain. Using her experience, Alice outsmarts Fawn, slicing him down with her scythe. Fawn dies in anguish, and his contractor collapses from the effect of the broken contract. Oz checks the contractor and finds a scar caused by Alice's attack on Fawn. This reminds him of Gilbert when he was under Duldum's control and had a similar scar from the coming-of-age ceremony. As dawn approaches, Oz reflects on the chaos and remarks that the battle felt like a wild goose chase. During the carriage ride to the Rainsworth estate, Oz recalls Brake's advice that the truth about the tragedy of Sabri could be uncovered through Vincent Knight Ray, who was present when Sabri fell into the abyss. Brake knew Vincent might not share the information, so the alternative was collecting Alice's lost memories. Since some chains hold fragments of her memories, Brake suggested that Oz and Alice join Pandora to hunt illegal contractors. Despite capturing many chains, they haven't recovered much, leaving Alice to wonder if Brake manipulated them into doing his dirty work. Oz believes the truth lies in Alice's memories. At the Rainsworth estate, Ada rushes to hug Oz but is stopped by Pandora soldiers aiming their guns. Ada, surprised, learns that school is on break for the Harvest Festival. Alice claims Oz is hers, but Gilbert explains he and Ada are siblings. Oz requests a moment of rest from Pandora, which Brake and Sharon agree to, noting that he currently faces no immediate threat from the Baskervilles. Despite this, Oz and Alice are under constant surveillance. Alice grows frustrated and threatens Pandora members, drawing her scythe. Oz holds her back as Break presents Reem with an official statement releasing Oz from constant monitoring, redirecting the soldiers to pursue the Baskervilles instead. Reluctantly, Reem complies but provides Oz with a gun for self-defense. Oz recognizes it as the same weapon William West used in his last moments. Break teases Reem about breaking Pandora rules, supported by Emily, prompting Reem to hurry away. After the soldiers leave, Oz asks Break why he intervened. Break explains it wasn't for Oz, but to prevent interference with Pandora operations. Sharon reassures Oz that the Baskervilles aren't focused on him, suggesting they may be occupied elsewhere. Gilbert wonders if they are searching for Glenn Baskerville. Break cannot confirm, but Oz notes this might be the right opportunity to learn about the tragedy of Sabri. That night, Gilbert sneaks into the Night Ray estate, planning to ask Vincent about the tragedy. Oz and Alice follow him. They find nobles attending an event, but manage to hide and navigate the crowd. Gilbert spots Vincent leaving and follows him. Oz and Alice are stopped by Echo, who says Vincent is unavailable, so they leave disappointed. Gilbert confronts Vincent in his room, asking again about the tragedy, but Vincent claims he cannot remember anything, just like Gilbert. He expresses willingness to help but cannot provide answers. Gilbert accepts this and leaves, while Vincent secretly confirms with Echo that Oz was also kept from obtaining information. Vincent plays with a rabbit doll, symbolically rejecting revealing the truth. The next morning, Sharon notes that Oz, Alice, and Gilbert had all attempted to question Vincent the previous night. Oz thanks Gilbert for trying, though Gilbert feels guilty for not recovering his memories from Sabri. Break suggests asking Jack, but Oz confirms he has already tried without success. Break explains that the only other options are Glenn Baskerville or the Intention of the Abyss. Alice says contacting the Intention is impossible without entering the Abyss. Break acknowledges the danger, but admits it could be done using Raven and Equus. However, even if possible, navigating the Abyss to a specific time is risky and distorted, making it unlikely they could reach the past accurately. Ultimately, Oz decides to continue hunting chains for fragments of Alice's memories. Ada reminds Oz of a shopping trip. Inspired by Jack's pocket watch, Oz devises a plan, apologizing for breaking his promise. They return to the mansion connected to Jack, believing it may hold clues to the tragedy. While investigating, Alice discovers a grave. Oz notes that it is the same place where he found Jack's pocket watch, possibly linking it to someone Alice and Jack knew. Gilbert tries to read the worn inscription but fails. Alice expresses her determination to uncover the truth and continues her search, unaffected even if it were her grave. Oz listens to the melody from Jack's watch, named Lacey. Oz reenacts the coming-of-age ceremony at the mansion, but achieves nothing. Gilbert comes behind him and drapes his coat over Oz, symbolically completing what should have happened 10 years ago. They stand together silently. Gilbert apologizes for failing to act during the original ceremony, but Oz forgives him, acknowledging Gilbert was controlled by the Baskervilles. Just as Gilbert is about to reveal whom he defended, a card is thrown through a wall, destroyed by Equus. Sharon informs them of the emergency. Outside, cards appear, one holding Alice. She struggles as Break cuts the attacker's arm and frees her. Alice orders Oz to release B-Rabbit's powers, allowing her to defeat the cards effortlessly. Break notes the unusual appearance of so many chains without a contractor. Explosions echo as the group follows Alice to higher ground, where they see Revail burning in the distance. After learning that Revail is burning, Oz, Alice, Gilbert, Sharon, and Break immediately take a carriage and rush to the city. When they arrive, chaos fills the streets. Chains resembling Mad Baby lead hordes of cards, chasing terrified civilians. The city is in complete turmoil. At Pandora headquarters, Bernard Night Ray is shocked by reports of the massive invasion. Members tell him they have never seen so many chains in one place. Suddenly, chains break through the doors, forcing Bernard to retreat while questioning how they infiltrated the defenses. The general and his firing squad reach Revail and attempt to fight the chains. They manage to kill one, but the swarm is overwhelming. The leading card catches up to them, and sounds of agony suggest the squad has been wiped out. Oz and his group arrive in time. Gilbert shoots the hedgehog in its mouth, slowing it, while Oz urges civilians to escape. Exasperated, Oz wonders who could have caused the invasion. Gilbert suggests the Baskervilles, but Brake rejects the idea, reasoning that even they do not possess such power. Alice explains that the invasion is the work of the intention of the abyss, sensing its scream. A grim chain forces its way onto the bridge, firing missiles at the group. Alice urges action, prompting Gilbert to release B-Rabbit's powers. Alice transforms and swiftly cuts the Grim in half. Sharon summons AniQuest to set cards ablaze, and Brake wields his sword to defeat another group. Gilbert shoots and kills many cards, while Oz and Alice help a screaming woman. She cannot leave because her child is trapped in a burning house. Oz rushes in, rescues the child, and carries him out. Unexpectedly, the collapsing house buries Oz and the child, but Alice, in her released form, emerges carrying both safely. She delivers the child back to his mother, and then returns to human form, apologizing to Oz for using excessive power. Sharon, weakened from using AniQuest, collapses. Frustrated, Gilbert questions Pandora's response, prompting Brake to take action. He summons Mad Hatter above Revail, and Oz considers fleeing to protect Alice. When Mad Hatter opens its eye, it annihilates every chain in the city, temporarily stopping the invasion. However, using Mad Hatter leaves Brake injured, and he collapses after coughing up blood. Oz wants to check on his friends, but Alice insists the battle is not over. A sudden blizzard forces them to seek shelter. Oz starts a fire in an abandoned house, inviting Alice to join him. She hesitates at the window, noting that Revail has become as terrifying as the abyss. Sitting by the fire, Alice recalls her loneliness while trapped in the abyss, constantly fighting chains with no purpose, feeling frozen in despair. She admits that Oz's presence gave her warmth and hope, helping her survive the darkness. Oz considers that the intention of the abyss might also feel isolated and unbalanced, like Alice, crying out in loneliness. As they sit, a window suddenly bursts open, and a grim chain appears. Alice warns Oz just before it strikes through the floorboards. Oz dives in and shoots the chain, buying time for their escape. Running out of ammunition, they face certain danger until Lottie, Doug, and Fawn arrive. Lottie commands Leon to attack the Grim, and Doug explains that the Baskervilles have ordered them to stop the abyss abnormal behavior, using Oz's power. They fight off the lower chains, allowing Oz and Alice to escape. Reinforcements from Pandora arrive, including snap-dragonflies and rocking horseflies, which destroy most chains. Gilbert carries the injured Brake while Sharon follows, heading to reunite with Oz and Alice. Their rest is short-lived as Jabberwock, a massive chain, rises and destroys Pandora's forces, threatening to crush Revail completely. Brake considers using Mad Hatter again, but Sharon refuses, fearing for Brake's life. Alice demands that Oz let her fight Jabberwock, despite his objections. Gilbert releases her powers, and Alice engages the enormous chain. Initially overpowered, she binds Jabberwock with her chains. The chain breaks free and fires an energy beam at her, prompting Oz to rush to her aid. During the battle, Alice cuts Jabberwock and regains fragments of memories, including Jack's farewell. Jabberwock holds Alice in its fist, throwing her into a building and preparing to incinerate her. Oz runs and screams for Jabberwock to stop. The intention of the abyss hears his cry, and Jabberwock is thrown back, firing into the sky as its body gradually turns to stone. Oz and Alice are transported into the memory Jabberwock contained. They witness Jack saying goodbye to Alice on a lake, explaining he cannot play with her anymore. Alice, distraught, embraces Jack, while the intention of the abyss observes silently. Back in reality, Jabberwock's stone body crumbles. Brake notes that Oz truly possesses the power to influence the abyss. The next day at the Rainsworth estate, Alice notices Oz is upset. He admits that during the chain invasion, he felt fear for the first time, realizing he wanted to live and understand himself, and to see Alice again. Brake commends Oz for his growth, noting that people can only become truly strong after experiencing fear. Alice, still confused, wonders what the future holds, and Oz comforts her, promising to accept her fully regardless of her past. Oscar arrives at the Rainsworth estate to tell Oz that it is time for him to return to the Vesalius estate. He says Oz cannot stay with the Rainsworths forever. Sharon immediately reassures him that his presence is welcome. Oscar wonders if Oz is concerned about Zai, which surprises him. Hearing this, Alice asks if Zai is the one who denied Oz's existence as his son. Gilbert tries to stop her from speaking, but she continues, and Oz learns that Alice now knows about his struggles with Zai. Oz admits that he has been trying to overcome his past, but he worries about how his father would react to seeing him after 10 years. Oscar interrupts, revealing that Zai disappeared around the time of Oz's coming-of-age ceremony. Although disappointed, Oz decides to accept Oscar's offer. He joins Oscar, Gilbert, and Alice in a carriage to the Vesalius estate. During the ride, he thinks about Zai's disappearance and wonders why Gilbert never told him before. Back at the Rainsworth estate, Sharon notes how quiet it feels without Oz, Alice, and Gilbert. Brake reflects on Oz's power, especially how he turned Jabberwock to stone to save Alice, showing that he can control the Abyss. Sharon wonders why Oz has such power, and Brake explains that the intention of the Abyss has special feelings for Jack Vesalius. Although Sharon speculates it could be love, Brake isn't certain, but he believes Oz's connection to Jack allows the intention to respond to him. Brake also questions the Baskervilles' motives, suggesting they may have left Oz in the Abyss deliberately, hoping to influence the intention in some way. Sharon wonders if Oz knows this, and Brake believes he does, as he is cleverer than he appears. At the Vesalius estate, Mrs. Kate greets Oz warmly. Alice asks about food, prompting Oz to request a meat-filled dinner, which excites her. Walking through the estate, Oz feels nostalgic, but when they reach the courtyard where Zai denied his existence, memories of the past strike him, and he stops, thinking about why Zai left. At dinner, Alice happily announces her plan to live at the estate. Oscar turns serious and says that Zai is gone for good, as they have searched for him for 10 years without success. When Oscar mentions Griffin, Oz realizes the chain has been near him all along. Seeing a mural of Griffin overwhelms him, and he collapses. Alice explains that Griffin was the chain that dropped Oz into the Abyss during the coming-of-age ceremony, revealing that Zai acted as the lead Baskerville. Oz finally understands what Gilbert had hinted at and runs off, asking to be left alone. Alice and Gilbert wait outside Oz's room. Alice expresses surprise at learning Zai's role, and Brake agrees. Brake had sensed something was wrong and came to check on Oz. Alice insists she cannot wait any longer and, breaking free from Gilbert, enters Oz's room. They find him staring out the window, thinking about how he wanted Zai to love him, only to realize he would never be accepted. Oz laments that he has always been rejected despite his connection to the tragedy of Sabri and his power over the Abyss. He questions his own identity, asserting that he is himself, not Jack's reincarnation or the Abyss controller. Alice tells him this search for identity is what they have been doing together. She asks if Oz's earlier claims of working together were lies, and when he does not answer, she decides to leave him to reflect. The next morning, Alice, Gilbert, and Brake wait for Oz. He apologizes for worrying them. Gilbert checks on him, and Oz confirms he is fine. He asks Brake for help in finding the Baskervilles so he can see his father. Brake and Gilbert search Pandora headquarters and find clues leading to the Baskervilles. They prepare their carriage to travel to Sabri. Brake and Gilbert inform Oz that Pandora's research suggests the Baskervilles' stronghold is in the ruins of Sabri. During the journey, Oz reflects on his past mistakes and faults, acknowledging that he has acted without understanding consequences, shaped by his privileged upbringing. At a break, Gilbert sends Alice to speak with Oz privately. She returns confused, and Gilbert complains, but Alice insists he should talk to Oz himself. Brake worries about how Oz will react to seeing Zai. Upon reaching Sabri, Brake remarks that it is a fitting place for the Baskervilles to hide. Gilbert assures Oz that he is not alone, and the group enters the ruins. The Baskervilles appear, saying Oz is on the path to the Abyss and remarking on his display of power during the chain invasion. Griffin appears and uses the chains of condemnation to trap them. Oz calls out to B-Rabbit, releasing Alice's seal, destroying the chains, and allowing Alice to counter Griffin. Oz's scream unlocks more power in Alice, obliterating Sabri's debris and defeating Griffin. Alice returns to human form, acknowledging Oz's strength. Seeing his father, Oz declares that despite his weaknesses, he will continue forward as himself, affirming his existence and rejecting anyone else's judgment. Zai internally reflects that Oz cannot be allowed to continue existing. Oz resolves to rewrite his story on his terms, believing he and his friends are the authors of their own fate. During the carriage ride home, Alice asks about their future once all mysteries are resolved. Back at the mansion where the coming-of-age ceremony took place, the sound of Lacey plays while Jack's pocket watch rests on his grave, a quiet reminder of the past. That's all for today. If you liked the video, make sure to like and subscribe the channel for more anime recaps.